Welcome to the Runna podcast. Today we spoke to the queen of marathon running, Molly Seidel, who talks us through her earliest journey into running through to progressing up the distances before going on to win a bronze medal at the Olympics in Tokyo, through to yesterday running the marathon in New York, where she had to make the courageous decision dropping out at mile 18. We really get a phenomenal insight into the mindset that it takes to be the very best. You're going to love listening to today's episode. Hey Molly, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to dive back to what it was that got you into your running all the way at day one. Do you remember what it was?
Honestly, it's tough to remember exactly what the first starting running was, but neither I didn't come from a running family or anything, but we had a bunch of trails up behind our house, and my dad would go for I don't know, a mile jog or something every so often to stay in shape for soccer or football, as you guys call it. And I think I went with him one time, and I felt so good because I was able to keep up with him at I don't know, I couldn't have been more than 10 or so to run a mile. And after that, I was like, oh yeah, I really want to be a runner. And I think I kind of just took it from there. Yeah.
Wow, it feels like it was like your destiny from a very young age.
I don't know if destiny, but me trying to jog with my dad. Maybe it was, at the very least, I think that was the first inkling of oh, this is something that feels really good. This is really fun and I enjoy it. And I think I kind of took it from there, that it was always kind of my happy, safe place of being able to just go out and run around behind my house.
And so did it stay as just running around the house, going running with dad, or did it become running at school? Or
It morphed into running at school because I went to a really small school that for some reason was really into the idea of every Tuesday and Thursday we would have to run 1 to 3 miles on trails around the school. And it very much became a competitive thing for me because I was always the fastest kid doing that. And as a very awkward 10 to 12-year-old, I was oh, this is something that I feel I really kind of vibe with. And I had to beg my mom to let me join the middle school track team at our local church. And it kind of went from there. So it wasn't by any means, it was very, very small start in all of it. Kind of me starting out just doing it either at school or by myself, and then through our CCD Catholic education after school thing.
And so you were one of the fastest doing this regular Tuesday, Thursday run.
Yeah. But also I will say our class had 10 kids in it. It was that small of a school.
But even so, do you think that's because you had done more practice and you'd been running with your dad a little bit and therefore you were better trained than them? Or do you think you were talented?
No, I do think that I was pretty good at it. I think I realized that pretty quickly, especially once I got into track, because all of these kids had been running for years. It was so funny because all of their parents were super intense with it, really pushing them to do track. And I was begging my mom to take me, and my mom did not get it. And so I was so nervous because all these kids had been doing it for a while. And then I became very quickly the best kid in this very small school Catholic grade school league. But I was oh, I think I am pretty good at this. Not to sound like a cocky asshole, but it was pretty clear quickly that I was just good at it. So it's sometimes I'm did I like it because I was good, or was I good because I really liked it and I did it a lot? And I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a positive feedback loop once it gets going.
Exactly.
But it's fascinating to know what it sets it off first, because it's the chicken and the egg.
Exactly. It really is funny. When I think back of I remember it as something that I really fondly enjoy from childhood. But I am did I really like it because I was instantly pretty good at this? Yeah. So who knows?
Yeah. And you kind of speak of being in this small bubble where you couldn't really find out how good you were.
Yeah.
At what point did you start running with more people, going further afield to really become very good?
So there was a high school a town over or so that they did a cross country camp every year. And I once again begged my mom to let me do it. And she was it's for high schoolers. You can't go to that. And I ended up being allowed to go to the camp. And so I was running with one of the groups, and I didn't realize it at the time. It was their varsity women. And I was, I think, maybe in 7th or 8th grade at the time. And so I was running with this group of women, not realizing how good they were and keeping up with them in all their workouts. And afterwards, the coach went to my mom and he was you need to make sure that she's going to go to a good school, that she's focusing on this. She could like get a scholarship to go to college. And my mom was like, what? They like give scholarships for that? Because my mom was a cheerleader in high school. She had no idea. But I think that was my first inkling. And the first time somebody told me like, no, like you actually are objectively pretty good at this. But it wasn't until I was a freshman in high school then that I won the state meet my freshman year. And then it was like, oh yeah, like this is going to be a real thing.
And so up to winning this state meet, has it all just gone perfectly? And why is that?
So that's what it was so funny, because everything was clicking, but when you're in it, it doesn't necessarily, like, I look back on it and it seems like, oh yeah, I won every single race in my freshman year. Like, I was pretty far ahead of everybody, but at the time it didn't seem that crazy. It was just like, oh yeah, I'm just running and I'm enjoying it. And we had like, I think at the time it was no more than maybe 3 women on our cross country team.
And you're a kid in this bubble. You don't kind of look at this big picture. So
Exactly.
It's very easy to be
to just be locked in. And I remember going to the state meet and just being so scared, because it was like all these senior women. And I was like, I was a freshman, but I was like a small freshman. Like, I don't know. I looked like I was probably like 12 years old. And so I was going into it being like, oh, I'm racing against women and I am like a kid here. And I remember that was really the first time that I started getting very confident in my ability of being like, no, like I do belong here.
And what distances are we talking?
So in Wisconsin, so I'm from like the upper part of the US. And in Wisconsin, we ran 4 kilometers at the time. Now everything's standardized to 5K, but it's like a strange, like 2.5 mile long distance that we only do in the state of Wisconsin. But yeah, it was all 4K races.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's starting to feel like you are really good.
Yeah.
You're beating these women.
Yeah.
Where does it go from there?
From there, I won basically every state meet that I competed in. I did cross country and track, 2 events every year for 4 years, which was really cool to get to do. All of a sudden, it's like, oh my gosh, I might like actually have a perfect record at state meets throughout my high school career. But I think the biggest disappointment that I had was I didn't realize that there was a national meet for cross country. Foot Locker National Champs was our high school national championships in cross. And they actually run the regional race in Wisconsin about 45 minutes from my house. And my mom's rule was, I'm not going to drive hours to take you to a meet. It has to be within easy driving distance of the house. And so I went my junior year and I missed out on qualifying for the national meet by 1 place. I'd gotten injured right beforehand. And I was so close, and top 10 goes to nationals. I was 11th. And I remember at the time that it was the first race that I had truly like failed at a goal. Like I had never lost a race like that before, because it was this big step up in competition. All these girls were so good. And I told myself, I'm like, I'm going to win the national meet next year. And I trained my ass off for a year, and I feel like I really committed myself in a different way. I was like, I don't want to be the best girl in Wisconsin. I want to be the best girl in the country. And I came back the next year and I won the national cross country meet. And yeah, it kind of just went from there.
I mean, it is just like absolute boss energy that like you've kind of had this like perfect journey. You have your first hurdle and then you're like, rip it up next time around. I'm going to show them who's boss. And then you did it.
Yeah, I kind of look back. I'm like, God damn it, I was a hardo in high school, because I'm like, I look at that mentality now, and it's like, I think I've eased down some of my edges a little bit, but I think that mentality of just be like, okay, you take a failure and you double down and like just work even harder.
Well, I think clearly we'll come on to when you have this raw talent, clearly you have, and this phenomenal mental strength that clearly you have. You couple that together and it's amazing what you can go on to do.
Yeah.
Like, did you realize it then? Like, during 1 year later, you set yourself to be the best in the whole country and you literally did it?
I think, like, at the time it was so funny because, like, I look back and I'm like, oh, that is kind of an objectively crazy thing to, like, say, like, oh, you didn't even qualify for nationals and you're going to win the thing the next year. But at the time, it was just like, no, that's just like what I need to do. Like, that's just like the point of this. And I think I realize now too, I feel like I had like that almost like a childishly large ego when I was a kid too, that I was like, I was the best runner in Wisconsin. And I was like, no, of course I'm the best runner in the country. I was like, I look at myself now and I could have like slapped myself upside the head. But I think when you're a kid too, like you kind of almost need to have that.
Wait.
Like the world's going to beat you down, but like you need to be able to come in with that raw, just like sometimes I think in running, you almost have to be like delusionally confident in yourself.
Well, I think at that moment in time, you had no reason to not believe it.
No, exactly.
And then it
yeah.
furthers this ego, which is that you
Mhm.
you do it.
Yeah.
Like in that year interim,
hmm
did you vocalize your ambitious goal?
No, I'm not
Is
actually
this
someone
all
that
in-
ever.
Is this
yeah.
all internal?
Very internal, because I was like, I didn't have a team to run with. I did like I was doing most of it solo, and so like I don't know. I feel like I didn't really have anybody that I could vocalize that to. I didn't have necessarily teammates.
And so
that I
your
was-
mum driving you home from the 11th place.
yeah.
Does she know what you want to do next year?
No, I think my mom probably was worried. Like, I think my mom was worried, like, oh, I hope she doesn't quit running. And like, because I think for her, like, it's always been like an interesting thing to watch me all this of like, I've been through a lot of struggles in my career. And my mom very much has taken, like, she loves me so much. And she's taken the approach of like, she wants to always make sure that I'm doing okay and that I'm not pushing too hard, that I'm not like, I don't know, driving myself over the edge, which I think is a nice counterbalance to my like absolute psychopathic need to like keep pushing all the time. I think it helps to have someone in your life that's willing to be like, hey, you need to take a bit of a break. We need to relax. And I'm glad that I had that voice of reason too. Like I did take quite a bit of time after that loss. I never ran in the winters when I was in high school. I was in ski racing, like downhill ski racing. So I think I kind of needed that to like get away from running for a little bit.
Wow. And I'm assuming
hmm
that all the while, despite running so well,
hmm
you're loving your running.
Yeah.
And is that why?
I think so. I think it was something that like I just unabashedly like do love the sport. And so it's never been something where I have to like force myself to go out and run. Like it was the kind of thing of being like, okay, like training harder doesn't seem like a huge ask. I'm like, I know that I can do more.
And where does that end though? Because if
I've-
if training hard is this thing that you can do and is almost a privilege,
Yeah.
what stops you from training too hard?
Oh, that's been something that I've really had to figure out in my career. And I've come up against that edge many times. I think it is almost the easiest thing in the world to just train harder. I think it is much more difficult to have the self-control to know when to stop. And I think I've definitely found that at multiple points in my career. I think I've very much found that the last 4 years, and I'm still trying to figure out where that line is. I think it's constantly moving and evolving.
Well, I think that's also the power of coaching, which is that everyone benefits from having a coach.
Yeah.
But there are certain people, you're at the top end of the spectrum, who probably need to be told to calm down.
Yeah.
And then the majority of people need to be told to get out the door and go.
Exactly.
And they need a completely different kind of like hat. The coach needs to wear a different hat
Yeah.
to those two different personas.
Yeah.
Um,
It is so funny though, because I feel like that is kind of like the artistry of coaching and even of just training in general. I think it's being able to figure out like what the line is of like what's not too much, what's not too little. Like you need to have just enough, and that's what makes truly great performances.
and we can come on to yesterday of where I think you wore the hat perfectly.
Yeah.
But before we get there,
Yeah.
we have this meet. You
Mhm.
achieve the goal. You're the fastest 1 year later.
hmm
How does things go from there?
I came out of high school being the most recruited female athlete in the country. I had my choice of which college to go to, full scholarship offers to a number of places, and I chose to go to college at Notre Dame. And then I really struggled the next 2 years. I, for the first time in my life, went into a situation where I had a lot of just negative feedback surrounding me from a coaching side. My teammates were like my sisters, like to this day are some of my best friends, and I really leaned on that. But went from a place where my coach in high school had been probably one of the most positive people I've ever met to just being seeped in negativity. And I really, really struggled my first 2 years there. Really just for the level that I was at, deeply underperformed. I think I got last at collegiate nationals my freshman year and didn't do much better my sophomore year. And really considered leaving the sport at that time just because running became deeply sad and miserable for me. And decided to stick with it. We ended up getting a new coach my junior year, and he's probably the reason that I'm a professional runner. He completely changed my career. He taught me most of what I needed to know to become a professional runner and to really believe in myself. And I went from being effectively last at nationals to winning at my junior and senior year.
And looking back at a coach that you didn't resonate well with, were
Mhm.
there other people thriving and loving training with them, or was it that
No, it was
everyone
pretty
struggling? Okay.
all around pretty bad. There were a couple people here and there that were at least like okay with it, but I had a funny conversation with um Susanna Sullivan, who is another Notre Dame athlete, and we were talking about that she was like, "Did you like him?" And I was like, "No." I had a terrible time, and she was like, "Yeah, I really struggled too." And she was like, "Have you talked to him?" I'm like, "No."
Well, I think it's
Yeah.
brilliant that you found a new coach and
Yeah.
that you didn't lose your love.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think like having that period where things were hard
Mhm.
has helped you be stronger now?
Yeah, I never wanna be the person to be like, "Oh, yeah, it's the tough times that make you better," but I think it made me very much appreciate, like, what a difference truly good coaching means. I think if I hadn't had that experience, I wouldn't have as much of an appreciation for just the difference that that can make, and also realizing that it's not all up to you. It is, like, you do need to, like, rely on the people around you to some degree because I think I came from a very solitary high school experience in running and really learned what it meant to be, like, a teammate.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And what in practice are like you kind of like drawing on as like the differences? Is it like the psychological support? Is it
Mhm.
the workouts themselves? Like what is the difference between a good coach and a bad coach?
I honestly don't even think the workouts matter that much. Like, I really think it is just like the reinforcement and the stories that you tell yourself about who you are. I think that there is something so deeply powerful about like a growth mindset. Um and like I think what I identify between my two coaches in college is it was such a such a stationary mindset. With the first one is like you are this, you are always going to be this. And with our second coach that came in, Matt Sparks, who is still the coach at Notre Dame, he's now been the coach for 10 years. But he had such a growth mindset coming in of like where you are now is not where you're going to be in 6 months. Like that's my job to take you from where you are now to where you're going to be. And you are not always going to be this. So even if you underperformed in this race, like you have to believe that there is going to be growth and change over the next few months. And I think that that was such a radical shift for me to go from being like, I'm always going to be this thing to be, I can be this thing.
And do you still believe that now?
I still absolutely believe that. I think that that was probably one of the biggest shifts that I needed to have to go from being like a someone who had been good in high school to someone who could potentially be a professional runner.
Mm.
Mhm.
And all the while we're still on the track?
Still on the track, track and cross country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got your new coach,
hmm
feeling like it's trending up in a good way again.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
Things have been steadily trending up from throughout that season. All of a sudden, I'm becoming All American. I decide for the first time, I'm like, maybe I'm not a 1,500-meter 5K runner. Maybe we try the 10K.
Mhm.
Also, part of it was Emily Sisson was doing the 5K that year, and I was like, I don't want to run against Emily Sisson. She's really fast. So I tried the 10K for the first time at ACCs, qualified for the regional meet 2 weeks later. At the regional meet, I won the regional meet, and 2 weeks after that, I was national champion in the event, and I'd never been to outdoor nationals before, and that was when I was like, "Oh, damn, like, I can actually do this again still." Because I think I'd really been, like, beat down those first 2 years, and I was like, "I'm not a good runner." And it was again being like, "Oh, no, I can be a really good runner." And then I followed that up with another 3 national championships after that within a 1-year period, and that was when it was like, "Okay, I'm gonna run pro."
Wow.
Yeah.
And what's the transition like to becoming a professional athlete?
It was actually a pretty difficult transition for me. I had another kind of like really low point because I had been dealing at the end of my collegiate career, I was dealing with a pretty bad eating disorder and my body really started to feel the ramifications of that. And so I went from being four-time NCAA champion to basically being injured for a year. And so I didn't really have contract offers coming out. So I went with a team in Boston that was kind of like the one team that was offering me a spot. So I kind of put my head down. I was like, I'm just going to try and make this work. And I had some initial success. I got second here at the US 5K champs my first year as a rookie, but I really dealt with just injuries related to that eating disorder for the next several years. And yeah, it was a lot of learning, a lot of lessons, a lot of personal work, but eventually ended up meeting my then coach who would coach me to the marathon on that professional team, and just opened a lot of doors for myself and ended up qualifying for the 2020 Olympics probably after 5 years of pro running. So it took a while. It definitely was a lot of learning.
Is there a difference in your love of running that comes when it is now your job?
Ooh, it's definitely shifted a lot. I think that that's been something that I've had to figure out is how do you separate out what is the professional aspects of your job and what is your passion? Because I think anybody who makes their passion their job runs into this. I don't know if you've experienced this
Sure.
in your life, but it does transform it a little bit because at the end of the day, your job is going to suck sometimes. You can't love it 100% of the time. But how do you square that when it is the thing that you love most in the world? And I think I've had to learn to respect my running enough to put boundaries on it so that I can keep it my job when it needs to be my job, and I can keep it my passion when it needs to be my passion.
And does that mean it goes through ebbs and flows where
hmm
the winter or whatever it is I'm running for fun, and now it's like head down, I'm running for a performance? Or like, how do you, like, what does that mean in like the real world?
I think that in the real world, it means that I have to accept that there are going to be times when you've got to grind, that there are times where it's going to be really not fun and you have to kind of stick with your craft. Like, I think with anything, when you get to a certain level of your craft, you have to admit that there are going to be times where you don't really love it and you have to keep doing it and keep showing up. But also realize that there are going to be a lot of times where it starts flowing and clicking. And that's when you're like, yeah, this is the thing that I love most in the world. But I think it's accepting. It doesn't have to be one thing or the other. It doesn't have to be horrible all the time. It doesn't have to be the best, most fulfilling thing all the time. It's going to have a little bit of play in between. Even if that's for 1 to 2 years at a time, it's going to really suck. I think if you love something enough, you have to be willing to accept that it's going to really suck sometimes.
But I think it's exactly the difference between fun and satisfaction,
Mm,
which is if all you did was just like run in the woods and relax, it
hmm
would be quite fun. Like that work, like that run
Yeah.
would be enjoyable.
hmm
But like you do lots of them and you probably wouldn't see progress.
Yeah. And I would even argue it probably isn't even that fun anymore
Well,
because
it,
it's all just the
it's
same.
shallow.
Yeah.
It's like in the moment it's fun, it's easy.
hmm
Whereas if over the course of a week you do some really hard sessions, obviously you still need to do an easy run and run in the woods.
hmm
But like you do hard stuff, that is inherently less enjoyable in the moment,
Yeah.
but it trends you in a positive direction, which leads to satisfaction,
hmm
which leads to happiness,
Yeah.
almost greater than if you just did the easy fun stuff.
Yeah.
Which is why I think the like it kind of needs to suck mentality
Yeah.
is exactly what you need
Mhm.
to be happy.
Yeah. And I would even argue it's like, I think just I don't know, anything that you're in life, whether it's your job, whether it's the sport you're doing, it's going to have times that that will really challenge you. I think for anything to be truly fulfilling, like you're going to come up against times where it is just frustrating. And even if it's not like hard, like a workout is hard, hard like an injury is hard, where you just feel so stuck and so frustrated and you feel like nothing is moving forward. But I think it's those challenging periods that make the times when it starts flowing, when everything clicks, feel so fulfilling. Because I don't think if something doesn't challenge you, I don't think it can be truly fulfilling. And I ultimately think that's why running is such an incredible activity because it is mind-bogglingly frustrating sometimes.
Mm. I think you're completely right when you relate it to like other areas of life.
hmm
Um, and it's the same as like a relationship, it's
hmm
never going to
Yeah.
be easy all the time.
Yeah.
And a job or whatever it is.
hmm If
Um,
anything, you kind of want, like, I think I always wonder, I'm like, I've been doing this at a pretty high level for the last probably 15 years or so. And it is just as hard now as it was when I was in high school. And the stakes have gotten higher, but I'm like, man, I thought at some point this would get easier. And if anything, it's only gotten harder.
mm.
But I think that that is why I keep coming back to it because there's always some new problem to solve. There's always some new thing to try and improve and work on. And I think that that's why I ultimately am really grateful that I get to do this as my job.
It would be boring if it suddenly got easy.
It would actually be really boring. As much as I like wish for that, I know that I would be so bored and so unfulfilled if it was like that.
Mm. There was a point where you were the best, like best person you knew,
Mhm.
best person in the country.
Mhm.
How does it feel to not know that that might be the case? Like, you
Mhm.
may well be the best marathon runner in the country right now. You may not be.
No, but I think I was just journaling about this morning because yesterday was a really difficult race, and I think it is really difficult to go from 4 years ago. I was one of the best marathoners in the world. I was coming off of winning a medal at the Olympics, and I ran the American course record here. And it's really, really hard to go from being one of the best in the world at your event to I didn't finish yesterday. I had a really difficult race. I've had a really difficult last 4 years in this sport. I've finished one marathon in the last 4 years. And it is really, really difficult to square that. But ultimately, I am really committed to this sport and I do truly believe in my ability to do this. Whether that puts me someday again as one of the best in the world in my event, or whether that means I'm going to keep working at this for the next 10 years and not get anywhere. Like that is, I don't know. I think that's just kind of the journey that you have to be on with the sport. You go into it and you give it everything you have and you can't expect anything
Mm.
out of it. But you kind of give it all of your effort, all of your love, and you can hope that something good comes out of it. And I do think that if you consistently show up enough, something good eventually will come out of it.
Mm. And that's also the gamble that you have to take by now playing at the like the top league, you know?
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah. Like you don't get a choice on what your career is. Like I think my career has looked very different than what my ideal situation would have been if you'd asked me 4 or 5 years ago. But I don't think that that makes it any less valid. It's just that's what my career looks like and I'm going to make the most of it.
I think that's a very like strong way to view things,
Mm.
which is amazing.
Mhm.
Before we like talk through those last 4 years,
Mhm.
what was it that meant you went from 10K to the marathon, and how was that transition?
Ultimately, it was when I was going through those string of injuries coming off the severe eating disorder in college, it was found that I had a 3 millimeter gap in the bone in my hip and that it hadn't healed correctly from a fracture. I'd fractured my pelvis in college and I had to have a pretty major surgery on my hip in 2018. And it was kind of a 50-50 chance if I was going to run again after that. And it was pretty clear that I wasn't going to be able to run on the track after that anymore. It was incredibly painful to do track racing, to do the intensity required because of what my body had been through. And I kept trying, I kept getting hurt, and ultimately I left the track team that I was on. And so very much considered quitting the sport. And my teammate on that team convinced me you should just try half marathons. You should try running a half marathon. You should try the roads, see what happens. My first half marathon, I qualified for the trials. And at a Christmas party for Tracksmith, my sister convinced me that I should take that fast qualifying time and run my debut marathon at the trials. I did it kind of on a whim, not expecting much out of it, kind of just hoping that I would be able to keep a contract out of it and qualified for the Olympics at my first go. So it was kind of one of those things that out of the lowest of expectations going into this and having no idea what my future was going to be in the sport, the greatest success of my career so far came out of it. And that was kind of a wild experience to have of just being like, I couldn't have imagined any of that happening.
I think there's something in the like the pressure
Hmm.
that like you must feel on a start line yesterday versus the trials
Hmm.
of your first marathon.
Yeah.
Do you think that if you were to have taken the pressure that you had yesterday on Molly from those trials, would you have run the same run? Would you have run a worse run? Like, or
Oh,
is it like, how do you feel around like the pressure on a start line of you today versus your first and your second marathon?
see, it's so tough because I think when I stand on the start line today, like I will every start line I stand on for the rest of my life, I'm always going to be Olympic bronze medalist Molly Seidel. And I think that it has been a really steep learning curve to deal with that. It's been a really steep learning curve to learn to deal with that pressure because I'm not someone who goes out and balls out in every race that I've had. It's kind of like I take really big swings in what I do, and it doesn't always work out okay. And I physically don't think that Molly from 2020 would have been able to handle that pressure. Like I experienced just how hard it was to come off the Olympics and deal with that. And I think a lot of the last 4 years has been me learning how to continue to be the athlete that I am, someone who I feel like I like to approach this sport with a bit of creativity and a little
Mm.
bit I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right word for it. Maybe a little bit more renegade than some other pro runners. I don't like taking the expected route of what people want from me necessarily. And so I'm trying to square still a little bit of how I carry that weight of this major accomplishment that I have in my career while still being able to stay creative and a little bit renegade with what I do and not box myself in just because I have this bronze medal around my neck. If that makes sense.
Mm. It's really interesting.
Sorry if that's not too
No,
like
no, no. Of
roundabout
course,
of a way.
I think it's really interesting. Like maybe it's just the way that, like you say, like the bronze medal around my neck, but like presumably, and surely the answer must be yes, but like presumably you're still over the moon and proud and grateful for being able to
Mhm.
achieve that, and it doesn't feel like
Yeah.
a handcuff.
No, it doesn't feel like an albatross around my neck by any means. Or like I think in some ways I think it is an enormous like marker of what I've been able to do. Like I'm enormously proud of being able to get that medal. That is something I had dreamed about since childhood. I also don't want to let it restrict me for the
Mm.
rest of my career or say that I can't do certain things, that I have to remain doing this one single thing because I've been successful at it. Because I think if I had taken that same mentality earlier in my career, I never would have left
Mm.
the 10K.
I think it's like the growth mindset you speak of,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's a very clear way to look at it, which is that
Mm-hmm.
like that shows what you're capable of when everything goes
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
And imagine when it all goes right again next time with
Mm-hmm.
the compounding training and learnings you've had over that time. It's going to go even
Yeah.
better.
And that's what I hope. I think for me it's being able to be a mark of like, hey, you can do this. As tough as things are, as much as you may doubt yourself, like you still can like show up when you need to. And I think it's always being able to trust that and look at that and be like, even if it looks different than you would expect it to, remember that like sometimes you can't even imagine how good it could be. Like you don't even know what you're capable of. Because I don't know, if you'd asked me on February 28th of 2020 if I'd have an Olympic medal within the next year and a half, I would have thought you were the craziest person in the world. And then it's like, it's being able to show like, no, like you are capable of so much more than you could imagine.
I think it's completely true.
Mhm.
What does it feel like to get a bronze medal? And at what point in that run did you believe that would be possible? Like, are you feeling like
Yeah.
you're the dog's bollocks from the start?
That race was end to end, probably the hardest race I've ever run. It was so hot. It was so competitive. And it really was like a war of attrition. At halfway, I was pretty convinced. I was like, I'm off the back of the main pack. Like there was a huge gap and I was like, oh, that's it. The race is gone. I'm going to have to just like be content to get 15th to 20th in this race. And I was able to like claw my way back, but legitimately probably not until the last mile of the race did I like actually realize that I had it. There were like 4 of us with maybe it's like they were I can't even remember how long the laps were, maybe 6 miles or so, and there were 4 of us going into the last lap. And it was just so close. I'm surrounded by like it was like world record holder, won a major marathon. I'm like, God damn it. Like this is going to be so tough. And one of the women dropped back and I thought she was right behind me and she ended up like being forced to walk because she just couldn't handle the heat anymore. It was that bad. And I didn't realize that she'd started walking. So I didn't realize that I was in 3rd place for the last few miles. And then all of a sudden I just didn't hear any footsteps behind me in the last mile. I'm like, oh, like I'm going to get 3rd. And that was when it really started to click. And that's when I started getting pretty excited.
That's
Yeah.
amazing and
But yeah, it's like, it was just indescribable, especially because I think that medal was like, it was so unexpected. And I think that is like the purest joy that you can feel when it's like you achieve your greatest dream and it's completely unexpected.
It's quite interesting that it is so unexpected
Hmm.
because there was a moment in time where you're like, I'm going to be the best in the country.
Legit, when I was a kid, I wrote on a piece of paper, like, I'm going to go to the Olympics and win a medal. Like, that cocky little, like, 10-year-old or
Mm.
whatnot. So it's like, I think maybe that's it. It says, I feel like as you go up each level, you just realize more and more how good everybody else is and how many really good people there are.
Mm.
Maybe that's just like the innocence of childhood to be like, I'm going to be the best, not realizing like, oh, there's people all over the world that are just as good as you, if not better,
Mm.
that are going after this exact same goal. I
But
don't know.
there is something in that naivety, though, that is a superpower.
Yeah. But I think I was even naive going into that race. I think now I like know too much about marathoning. Like, I went into that race being like, this is going to be a really competitive Olympic race. And I didn't even realize half of the accolades that some of these women had, like, just because I didn't know.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's sometimes you need that innocence a little bit.
And also, whatever their accolades are irrelevant to you
Mhm.
and your body and how
Yeah.
you're going to do that day.
Yeah.
And it is that naivety
Yeah.
that maybe is helpful. And yeah. Fast forwarding to yesterday,
Yeah.
what was the ambition?
The ambition going into yesterday was really, like, honestly, it was just about making it to the start line. So it's the last 2 years, I broke my kneecap, going into the Olympic trials last year, and I didn't run for the majority of 2024. It was a really tough year. I just struggled to get my knee in any sort of place where I could manage mileage on it. And then I had my appendix taken out, and that was another multiple months lost. And so it was really kind of just like one kick in the face after another. And so going into this year, I think it was really on the fence. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to race this year.
Mhm.
I'm really just getting back into it. And I ended up switching coaches around mid-year or so and just really kind of changing up the way that I approach this sport. I've been doing a lot more trail running and kind of realizing that that's at least what I'm being really drawn to right now. It was what was feeling good on my knee. I was able to manage a lot more running up in the mountains than on the roads. The roads are still pretty tough on my knee. Um, but when the opportunity presented itself to run New York in July, I was like, I gotta try. It's New York. Like, might as well. And so we kind of fitted into this broader training plan that the eventual goal of this is to run the Black Canyon 100K big trail race in Arizona in February. And I basically had to talk my coach into letting me run New York because he really wanted me to do the JFK 50 miler, which is a big trail race. But I was like, I really want to do New York, and I also have a wedding that I've got to go to on the weekend of JFK, so that's just not going to fit into my life. But um, I think a lot of this was getting back into the rhythm of training at a top level, getting back into the rhythm of threshold workouts and mileage and doing all of this and almost like relearning how to train and using this as a building block to go into next year feeling really strong racing on the trails. Um, and yesterday definitely didn't go how I'd hoped. I dropped out at mile 18 with a lot of knee pain. But I think I'm really proud of the decision that I made not to fight through the pain and risk really, really hurting it and sacrificing my race in February. Sorry, that was a very long answer
No,
to
and
your
I
question.
think absolutely the right decision, and it's definitely something that normal folk or slower runners have to also work through, which is like,
Yeah.
when is pain something to push through, and when is
Yeah.
pain something to pause and to try again another time.
And that is probably one of the hardest lessons that I've had to learn in my career. So like the last time I ran in New York, I raced on 2 broken ribs and it was excruciating every single step. And not only the physical strain that put on me, but the mental strain that put on me, it took me out for a really long time. And I think yesterday was an interesting experience on the opposite end of it, of experiencing a pretty high level of bad pain, not good marathon pain, at mile 16 and telling myself, okay, we're gonna see if this resolves. And if it doesn't resolve by 18, you have to drop out at the med tent. And dropping out was really, really difficult. But I think I would have been really, really mad at myself if I'd gone those extra 8 miles and really put myself out for a while, because I just don't want to keep doing that, of missing years at a time of racing because I was too much of a hammerhead to know when to stop.
And just seeing you walk around on the way in here today,
Yeah.
you don't look like you're limping.
No, and that's the thing. It's feeling really good. I think there's no better learning lesson than a hard lesson. And a year ago, or I guess a little more than a year ago, January of 2024, I trained so hard and pushed through so much pain in my knee that I literally broke my patella in half. And I'm just not willing to I'm not willing to do that again. I'm not willing to do something that stupid again. And so I think I have had to learn the hard way, the difference between good pain and bad pain, and know what my limit is, that I can't just mentally will myself to a good performance. You have to listen to your body sometimes. But it fucking sucks sometimes, especially when you really want to get to see your family at the finish. And instead you have to ride in the van of shame all the way back.
Well, I hope the knee feels good in the next few days.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Last question. The 100K.
Yeah.
What made you want to do 100K?
I've actually really wanted to do trail racing for a long time. I raced trail when I was in college in my off season. I've done speed goat 28K the last few years. And something about the challenge of racing in the mountains, racing longer distances, has really appealed to me. And I think especially over the last few years that I've had, looking at the approach of, I really want to be able to try something that supports kind of like where my body is at. I think the intensity of marathon training has been pretty hard on my system. And the approach of ultra training that we've taken through this build has at the very least gotten me to the starting line of a race, which has not been the case for the last few years. I think it's becoming a little bit clear to me too, just how difficult it is for me to recover from running on the roads. And so I'm like, okay, maybe doing some of the longer distances will help build up some of that strength in my body to be able to handle a yearly marathon, or at least make it to the finish line. So I don't know. I think it's a bit of a creative endeavor of seeing how my brain handles going long. But I think it's also like, it's a fun challenge for me of just being like, I think I could be really good at ultra. Seems like I might be. It feels like a little bit of that like cocky high schooler being like,
well, that's what
yeah,
I was
why
gonna
can't
say.
I be the best in the world?
It's also
maybe that's it. I keep trying to give all these like very like well-balanced answers of like, oh, I just want to see what I can do. It's a fun new creative thing. But I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, I think I could be the best in the world at ultra. I might as well try.
It's also this like trend that you keep going through. It's just, I was on 1500, 4K, 5K, and then at 10K went really well. Marathon went really well. It's like, keep going longer and you keep surprising everyone. So it's like that going longer side. And then I wonder, is also like, I mean, you said it's like the naivety or the cockiness, but like it's getting that kid again, which is that there's no pressure.
And I think it's that too. I think there's always something exciting of trying a new distance because you just don't even know what's possible. I think it was it's like that same fear and anticipation the first time I tried a marathon, where it's like, I don't know what my body, like I'd never run over 22 miles at the time when I ran my first marathon. It's like, I don't know how I'm going to feel. We'll see. Like, and I think it's that same approach that I'm like, with 100 kilometers, with 100 miles eventually, like I really want to see like what place that takes me to and like what is possible at those upper limits. So we'll see. I think it's kind of like, it's fun and it's exciting and it's deeply scary, but that's what keeps me coming back to the sport, that there's always something that's going to scare you a little bit.
Well, I have no doubt just from talking to you and your infectious energy and bravery that you will do incredibly well. We're going to segue over to Steph for our coaching tip of the week.
My top tip today is on running cadence. This is the number of steps that you take per minute. You'll be able to find your running cadence as a metric on your smartwatch. The gold standard is 180 steps per minute, but in reality, this will depend on how tall you are and how fast you're running. If you're looking to improve your cadence, then start off slowly. Focus on taking shorter strides and picking up your feet. You can even use a metronome app or music to help keep you in sync. To begin with, focus on doing this for the first 30 seconds of each kilometre of your run and build this up over time nice and slowly. This will help avoid you picking up any injuries from a slightly different running style that you may adopt.
Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by the Runna app, the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide. If you want to try the app today, use code podcast25 for 2 weeks totally for free. And please do remember to rate, follow, and subscribe to us on your listening platform to help us climb the rankings and so that we can keep bringing you the most interesting and amazing guests. Thanks so much for that, Steph. We're going to bring it back with our this or that's. Would you rather always train with amazing atmosphere in a team, doing training is this like great feeling of camaraderie, but you will always race on your own, you're not in a pack, you're having to do the times that you want to do out on your own, or in reverse, you train on your own. You don't get a benefit from people helping you out there in training every mile's on your own, but then the race, you've got the atmosphere, you've got the support around you.
Oh, that's so tough. Oh, I don't know, because I feel like in training, like you want, like that's just so much more time that you've got to be with people. But I honestly think, like I love that race atmosphere. I think I've got to say, like I'd train alone and have the race atmosphere because, like, that's what makes it worth it.
I also imagine there's probably something in it, which is that the race atmosphere is like a superpower. You know, it's kind of like
Exactly.
I always describe it as like kind of like playing Mario Kart and you're on the Rainbow Road and it just speeds you up, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
imagine you do all your training on your own.
Yeah.
It would suck. It would be so much harder.
When
which would
it's
then-
just silence.
Which would then
yeah.
probably make the superpower of the atmosphere helped by even more.
Exactly. It's so tough though, because it's like I do love like when you've got like infectious energy with the training group, that's like so fun. But I also do have days where I just need to be able to like run solo. So it's like maybe it's that. I think I'd be able to handle training solo better than I would be able to handle racing solo.
Yeah. Would you rather,
Mhm.
and this is quite topical to our conversation,
Oh.
would you rather run one perfect marathon and then retire? Or run a lifetime ahead, next 10 years, of continuously imperfect races, but be happy?
Oh, I would take the continuously imperfect. I think, I don't know. It's just the being able to get to keep doing it and perfecting it and tweaking it each time. I think that is really appealing to me. It would be the saddest thing in the world to just have one race and then you're done.
Would it also not be that first option doesn't even exist? Because you're not the kind of person that could do a perfect race.
I don't think I could.
It doesn't exist.
I don't think I could even see it as a perfect race. I'd tweeze it apart.
Yeah.
I'd make up something in my head about how it's not
no matter
perfect.
how. Imagine yesterday you ran infinitely better than you did.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'd still want to improve upon that.
Exactly. There's always, maybe that's the thing. Running, there is always something to improve. So I just don't think the perfect marathon even exists.
Yeah, and I think that's the same in life.
Yeah.
And it's all the cliche quotes, but it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Yeah.
Nice. You'll have the journey forever. No destination.
Excellent.
Final one.
Mhm.
You can have a superpower. Which superpower are you choosing? Would you rather always be able to fuel perfectly? Your fueling is
This is the super. I thought you were going to
no,
would
sorry.
you fly?
No, these are running superpowers.
Okay.
You are flawlessly fueled in your running endeavors, or you sleep like a queen.
Oh my God, sleep.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sleep. This is coming from someone I have been like, I've had terrible insomnia my whole life, and I've only started being able to sleep okay the last like maybe year or two. And it is so good. Like I actually had excellent sleep leading into this race. That's why I'm so frustrated that the race went badly, because like I slept 9 hours a night, the 3 nights leading into the race. And let me tell you, you cannot put a price on sleep. It is so good.
Well, I do think from the crazy perspective I get to see of talking to incredible people like yourself, but the through line of all incredible athletes is the sleep.
It's the most, whenever people ask me like, what's your greatest recovery tip? And I think they're hoping that I say some sort of supplement or like a technology. And I'm like, it's just sleep. That's literally all it is. It's just sleep.
Do you nap?
I do. I actually am, as bad as I am at sleeping at night, I'm a very good napper. And like when I'm in heavy training, I will take a nap every single day. And it's so nice. I can like conk out.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm a phenomenal sleeper at night, and my brain is too wired to nap in the day.
Yeah. Maybe if you were less of a good sleeper at night, you'd be able to nap. You'd
Mm,
be so tired.
yeah. Our final question that
Mhm.
we love to ask everyone is to design. This is going to be really interesting for you because you have been at the spectrum of all distances,
Mhm.
but to design your dream race. So you need to think through the distance that you pick, where in the world you put it, and then the food and drink at the finish line, and who gives out the award.
Mm. See, I had a really good answer to this when we have talked previously. And I had a perfect race then that I don't know if I'm allowed to repeat it on
You
this
can, of course you can.
podcast. Okay. This was my perfect race. My perfect race. I'm going to change up the person who I'm doing with. My perfect race is a marathon that I'm going in, very fit for, ready to run a very fast time. And I get to start exactly far ahead enough from Eliud Kipchoge that I am perfectly planned based on time that I will beat him by 1 second. It's that's my time gap that I get, that it's whatever his marathon is and whatever my marathon is. That's my handicap that I get to start ahead. So I get my beautiful photo finish in front of Eliud Kipchoge. He's obviously so magnanimous about it, and he accepts his defeat with, I don't know, grace. And then we're perfect friends, and we just drink beers together afterwards.
That would be amazing.
Because I feel like he'd be a fun person to
But
hang out with.
the thing that you're missing,
Mhm.
and I've got an improvement for you, but the thing you're missing is that the entire marathon, he's not breathing down your neck.
Yeah.
You're running kind of on your own on this time trial, or with all the other
I,
people
but
around
I
you.
assume, so I'm also going part of my perfect race because I can add whatever I want to it. I get his flying V formation of
Okay, yeah.
pacers of all of
Sure.
all of my top
But you
fun
you
people.
still don't get to know how he's doing behind you, all of this.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking, would it not work better to do the course is laps of the airport, and you and Kipchoge start at the same time,
Mhm.
but he has to go the wrong way up the travelators. So that nets out to be the exact handicap that he needs to finish 1 second behind you.
Honestly,
But it means that on the laps of the airport, you're like neck and neck. So that way it's
Ooh.
not like the 1 second of the finish line, he's there and you're like, how I beat you? But you didn't see him for the last 2 hours.
True. Actually, that's
Instead,
good.
the 2 hours laps of the airport, he's kind of like just behind you, but he is running on the travelator.
Is that what you guys call the moving
What do you call
walkways?
them?
A moving walkway.
Yeah, we call them
I will say travelator
travelator,
is.
or like sometimes magic carpet.
Those are objectively way better ways to call them.
What's it? A walkway?
Yeah, just a moving
Moving walkway.
walkway.
Oh, that's so long.
I know it's dumb, but we're committed to our dumb way of doing things.
So yeah, he's going the wrong way up the moving walkways. You're on the regular tarmac.
That's actually hilarious. Okay,
It would be better
I
for
will
spectators
will
also,
get
'cause
rid of my idea, and I'm taking that
also,
one.
if you think about it from like a spectator's perspective, like you've got all the gates.
Yeah.
So people can be in there like boarding gates where there's
So,
sort of, like,
okay, so
glass
we are
window, and then
running-
everyone can watch
We're running inside
in the
airport.
You're just
Okay,
doing like these because the airports are huge. Sometimes it's like a 20-minute walk to your gate.
so this is the thing. I actually have been known when I've been stuck on layovers, I will run around the airport. Like I'll have somebody
Well, this would
watch
be a
my
great,
bag.
it'd be
Yeah.
a great
No,
spectator
because I'm
sport.
very well acquainted to running in the airport.
Yeah.
This will be perfect. We can do it at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. They have all of the little
There's
travelators
quite a long
all
way
around.
to go as well.
Yeah, and it's a big circle.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is perfect.
But yeah, spectators can all
Should
be
we
in their
hit up-
boarding gates and they can watch through the glass windows.
I love this. Should we hit up Elliot? He's right at the hotel.
Well, he said that was his last marathon, but I reckon this is one more.
Wait, is this his last marathon? See, I've been off social media for the last
I think
day.
that was his last major or last race.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
I might be wrong.
Damn. Well, we'll have
We
to hit
also,
him. We have to hit him up quickly for.
We were doing
our race.
our Runna shakeout, and he was doing his shakeout in the park.
Did you see the pack of people that were chasing him?
I think it was just so nice
Hmm.
to see, despite being the GOAT, as loads of people describe him,
Yeah.
but like he's kind of normal in a way. Like he's
Oh,
still
yeah.
got to do his shakeout miles, just like everyone else. and
Still
go
gotta
run in the
do his
park, and
runs.
he did have his bodyguards around him.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty cool.
No, I've gotten to meet him once or so. We had like probably an hour or so in the holding room before we got our medals at the Tokyo Olympics. Very nice guy. Like
I think
he's
it's
just a guy, just a boy.
I think it's like the humble nature
Hmm.
that I think comes not just with him, but with everyone who achieves amazing things.
Hmm.
That I think you have to be that humble
Yeah.
to be able to achieve it
Hmm.
in a way.
I think that definitely is true to some degree. That I think, especially at his level that he's at, I think that there's some realization that it's like you can be the most talented person in the world, but like it is kind of just all up to the universe on some of these performances. And I don't know. I can't begin to describe what Elliot must feel when he's run any number of his accolades or whatnot. But I think that there probably is some sort of feeling of at a certain point you just kind of have to put it out into the universe.
But I think it's exactly that point, which is that it's down to the universe.
Mhm.
And it's not down to your competition. It's not down to the other people. It's just down to the universe. And the only thing that you control is you.
Exactly.
And that's been it's the same for you. All you can control is your great training. And
all you can do
that.
is your attitude and your training. And you just got to see what comes out the other side.
I love it. So rounding out this bizarre but magical race, we're in the airport. You're racing Kipchoge. You're going to beat him by 1 second. Food and drink at the finish line.
Does it have to be airport food?
No, you can have whatever.
Okay, I was imagining that we had to make our pick because I was going to say like a Cinnabon. I don't know.
I think some airports have relatively decent food and some are awful. So we're not limiting you in that way.
Well, it's so tough because I feel like after a marathon, my stomach is pretty messed up for a little while, so I'm a little bit limited. But in a perfect world, I feel like we go immediately to one of those sushi conveyor belts.
Oh, yeah.
Or like with the little boats that float around, and then we just have a lovely sushi dinner.
Nice. And who's giving out your award?
Who's giving out my award? I'm trying to think who would be so fun to give out my award. Honestly, I got to say, elite athlete coordinator of NYRR, Sam Grotwald. Love that man to death, and he's in his full suit. I don't know, like the man who coordinates all of the New York Roadrunners events and gets all the pro athletes here. Sam Grotwald, this is his 25th year doing it. We all just celebrated it last night at dinner. But he is the most, he is an absolute delight to be around. I've gotten to work with him for the past several years now. He's always impeccably dressed in a full suit and whatnot. He is the most business-like person. He could run this country better than anyone. I would love to have Sam hand us our awards because he's just the best.
I want to ask you one final question now.
Yeah.
Despite that's normally our final question, but we were speaking before we came on about the experience you have as a professional athlete at a world major.
It's wild.
And you all stay at the same hotel.
Yeah.
Which
one big happy family at the same hotel.
It's remarkable to like the naive viewer who maybe wouldn't be aware of that. So talk us through. Everyone is at the same hotel.
Everybody
and why is
stays
that?
at the Hilton Midtown. It is for logistical ease for everyone because everyone, when we go to the race on race morning, you have to leave from the Hilton Midtown. Like there is one way to get to the pro athlete holding area at Ocean Breeze on Staten Island, and it is through the lobby of the Hilton Midtown. You have to be there. We also do, when you get in, you have to do drug testing. So USADA or WADA tests us at 6 a.m. the first morning after you arrive, which is really tough because this year a bunch of people had travel problems and got in at like 2 a.m. Then you get a knock on your door at 6 a.m. and it's drug testing. You got to go. They do a lot of meals there. They do the day before the race, you have your technical meeting, you have your bottle drop, you have your uniform check where they're taping over all your logos. I had my Oakley logo taped over because you can't have two. They tape my socks.
Sorry, what's that about the logos on the glasses?
This is the craziest thing to try and explain to people. World Athletics has very specific rules about the logos that we can put on our uniforms. And you can't have two logos from the same sponsor on one article of clothing. So like I wanted to wear a pair of Swiftwick socks that had a logo on either side of the ankle. And they made me tape over one. So I ended up wearing a pair of socks that didn't have any logos on it. But my Oakleys, they have an O on either side. You have to tape over one of the O's. It's so silly.
That's also amazing that like,
yeah,
it's not like I'm completely naive. Like I work in the industry.
Yeah.
I've never come across it. I know, isn't
that so funny?
I didn't look at you yesterday and think, weird. You've only got your like logos falling off one side of your glasses.
Yeah, no, but it's something that it's so subtle that you wouldn't really notice it. But even like you can't have a logo of a certain size. So all the running brands, they actually design their logos for pro kits a certain size. There's like a measuring like box that you have, and you have to make sure that it fits within.
Because I've seen it the other way around, which is that some brands grow their logos for their stars.
Exactly.
Like
yeah.
Lululemon, for example, they'll have bigger logos on their ambassador kit than they do on the individuals who are buying it because they're quite a minimally branded kit, but they want their stars to show off that they're wearing it.
Exactly. But so for us, it's the other way around. You can't have it of a certain size. Like if I were to show up with a logo, like if I were to show up with this to try to race in it, they would cover this entire logo. And it doesn't matter if it's just like it doesn't matter if it's a brand, if it's an art thing, like you can't have it a certain size. So if I got a tattoo of Runna on my arm, I would have, if it's over a certain size, I have to cover it.
Tattoo?
Yes.
Wow.
It's wild. Yeah, there's so many funny little things.
What if we were to get you a special tanning hat that tanned Runna onto your forehead? That therefore it wasn't a tattoo, it was just coincidentally the way that the sun landed on your skin. Could you run the marathons?
I think we might need to check, but I feel like we could go for this. Maybe for trail running is a little bit more open. I think we could potentially go for a tanning session with Runna just straight across the forehead.
Wow.
I think that'd be real cute.
I mean, I could ask you 100 questions about the behind the scenes, but it is fascinating. So thank you for sharing a little insight into that as well.
Of course.
It has been an enormous pleasure getting to chat to you again, but to learn so much more about your journey to date, your mindset, which is phenomenal, and wishing you the very best of luck with everything in the future.
Thank you so much. This was so fun getting to come in.